On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino, we have an awesome interview with Curtis Lofton. Then we recap Ohio State's win over Notre Dame in the national title game, and we give you our winners and losers of the week. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right, our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Wednesday, January 22nd, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack match roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, good times, great rewards, and Jim Knowles is not yet the defensive coordinator at Oklahoma.
Yeah, I do imagine though, like if he's going to be, things should happen pretty quickly from this point on, right? I mean, season's wrapped up for them, and everyone knows that there's at least discussions going on there, and I would imagine if it's going to happen, should happen relatively quick, should happen or should not happen relatively quickly.
If if tradition holds up, it will happen right after I publish this. That's
Yes.
typically how it goes. We publish something and then there's some massive news right after we get it out to everyone. But we'll see. Clearly, we'll talk about it on the next episode whether it goes, no matter which way it goes. But Ted, we got to get to this interview with Curtis Lofton because it is awesome.
Yes. Been waiting to talk to him for a long time.
All right, here's the former general manager and Sooner legend, Curtis Lofton. It is our pleasure to be joined by one of the best players in the history of Oklahoma football. He also just stepped down as OU football's general manager, and he's here to tell us why. Give us all the details, Curtis Lofton. How are you, sir? How we doing, buddy?
Man, I didn't know you did that introduction for Teddy every time like that, you know.
No, no.
It's man, it's cool to be here. I know I've been trying to make this happen for a while now, so it's cool I have the time to actually be on here to spend a little time with you guys.
Yeah, it's been wild. I know. I mean, you've been a busy man, super, super busy man. Maybe even a little more than you bargained for whenever you first wanted to get involved with BV. Just kind of grew on you, didn't it?
Well, initially for me, when I got done playing, like most players, is the question is what's next? And just being completely transparent, I used to say football's not something, it's not who I am, it's something I did. But when you play it as long as you commit as much as you do to the game, you realize, man, there's a piece of your identity and a piece of who you are that's always going to be tied to that. And so I went through a little bit of depression, just a little bit, just trying to figure out. And I felt like I had to do something equally as great as what I did in the NFL. And when I look at it, not too many things are going to equal that of that are great. But so I was trying to transition and do all these different things. And once Coach Venables got the job, for me, it was about, I don't want to be a coach. I know the commitment that it takes to be a coach. And for me, growing up, I grew up without my mom and my dad. My mom went to prison when I was 8. My dad wasn't in my life. And so I made a promise to myself is when I have kids, I'm going to be there for them at every single thing, no matter what. And when I took the job as sole mission and I told Coach Venables, I said, man, I'll do this for free because I was coming to help, not work. And once I got into it and started looking, like I'm one of those types of people that when I see something needs to get done, I do. I'm a doer, I'm not a talker. Um, and I went from player development and then it grew into this thing as a GM. And anybody that truly knows me, my words were always, when I find somebody that's better than me at this, they can have it. And um, that job is you got to eat, sleep, and breathe it. And I love my university. I love Coach Venables. I love these players. And I got to work with the guys who I played with. And so to be able to take some pressure and some things off them to while we're trying to figure out this thing, this landscape of NIL and college football that's constantly in chaos, to be a calming presence in there. And so that's how I ended up sliding into being the GM.
After talking to some people, you were definitely part of the plan moving forward with this new front office structure that OU is trying to implement, but you made the decision to pursue ministry instead. What all went into that decision, CeeLo?
It's like my post said, and here's the thing, it's not that I'm going into ministry. I think our lives is a ministry. I think that the way we love our wives, the way we love our kids, the way we treat our neighbors, the way we treat people that are complete strangers, I think that's ministry in itself. So for me, when I looked at it, I'm also in seminary. I've been in seminary for a year now, and I'll be graduating with my master's in theology and seminary in probably 8 months. And I just began to look at how this thing was changing and evolving. And like I came to serve. And I think a piece that NIL does is it's polluting the game of college football. And it's morphed into something that to me is I don't like. I don't like how there's no loyalty. And I think it's morphed into making these kids soft. And you don't have a hunger. It's like no one, it's like when I decided to leave as a junior, I left because my grandma was still putting out pots and pans to catch the water and going to bed with her coat on. And so for me, it was about taking care of her, and she was working 2 and 3 jobs. And so that's my hunger to push me past the discomfort of sitting behind people that I felt like I was better than. And taking the knowledge to grow as a player and getting coached hard every single day to be the best and squeeze out every bit of talent I had. And so now when things get a little uncomfortable or somebody says something you don't like, it gives these kids the opportunity to leave. But on the other side of it, I was in $10,000 in debt. I paid for my own insurance. I paid for my own gas, all the things. And so there is a place of NIL to be able to support and to alleviate pressure off athletes and their families. But what it's grown into, it's like, I don't want to be a part of that. But in saying that um, I saw this quote and it said, ministry is this. The light has to shine brightest in its home before it goes to the ends of the earth. And so when I was trying to decide if I was making the right decision or if I wasn't, I picked my daughters up from school last week, and they're like, "Dad, why are you picking us up from school?" And I said, "Well, girls, he's not working as the GM anymore as OU." And they're like, "Yes, yes, Daddy, you don't have to be on the phone all the time, and you can be at all our stuff." And if that doesn't gut punch you, if that doesn't wake you up, and it's like the things that we pray for is, man, I pray for a wife. I got an amazing wife. I prayed for kids. I prayed for a house. I prayed to go to the NFL, and the Lord blessed me to make a significant amount of money in a short period of time and to be a good steward with it. So I don't have to do anything the rest of my life, and my kids won't have to. But it's like I got too many gifts and too many abilities not to give back and not to serve. And so when I'm working this job, it's morning to night. It ain't no 9 to 5. It's you're constantly on the phone, and you constantly got to have a sense of um, patience. It's like, shoot, I was working fruits of the spirit every single time. Peace, love, because I'm getting cussed out. And I'm like, and my pride inside of me is like, man, who you think you're talking to? I was a defensive player of the year. I was an All-American, consensus All-American, unanimous. I was 37. You haven't even played. You made 3 tackles. And it's constantly like I'm having to humble myself to be able to talk reason and it's like, but at the same time, I'm competitive as anybody. And I love being in that atmosphere because it tests you at every single facet of every single ability. I'm a cap analyst. I'm a coach. I'm a counselor. I'm a recruiter. All these things. And so the GM job it's not just this set thing that people think. And I'm tired of hearing these comparisons to the NFL. I want you to go get the best GMs in the NFL and bring them in and drop them into this landscape. They won't be able to swim because the water's too deep, because they don't have in the NFL, they have these set rules and these set boundaries and all these things that allow them to function that is simple. In the NIL space, what rules do you have? What rules do you? It's like when Texas is bidding for players and they're $2 million more than what you're able to even come to. How do you win? And you win by doing the little things better than anybody else and being truthful and having and keeping your word. And that's what Oklahoma did. And that's why, I was able to be as successful as I was. And so that's a piece of, just a small piece of what it's like in the eyes of a GM.
You're right. Like the NFL, it's a totally different model. They don't have to they don't have to renegotiate with every single player on the roster every year or throughout the year at all
Two
different
times a
times.
year.
Yeah. So how hard was that, you know, for players that have been at OU, came to OU, and they've got their NIL stuff, but they see everyone else on the outside moving and getting deals. How hard was it to try and get the point across? Just like you said, if you do the right things here, right now, that all that stuff's going to be there for you. I mean, that had to be a big part of your time, just with the current players, trying to keep them locked in and focused.
Man, how do you, it's like discipline and patience and self-control. I think of that, they had that scientific experience where you put a marshmallow in front of a kid and say, hey, don't eat this marshmallow. If you don't eat this marshmallow, I'm going to give you 10 marshmallows when I come back. And so with NIL and being at OU, it's like, hey, you don't want the marshmallow. And here, I'm going to give this marshmallow to you, but if you're patient, you're going to get 10. And here's the thing, like no other place is, if you're at Oklahoma, hey, it took me 3 years to get onto the football field. You're crying because you're not starting, but you played as a freshman? Man, get out of my face. And it's sitting there, I'm sitting there like, and that's where I'm glad there's mute buttons on the phone because I can mute the button. I'm sitting there like talking to them like how I want to, and then have to unmute it and say, hey, I understand your frustrations more than anybody. You look at my chapter 30, you see that I was an All-American, you see that I was all these things, but you don't see the struggle that I had to go through. And it's like in that struggle, it develops a grit and determination that's going to carry you when you get to the league. And so just be patient. Give yourself grace to develop not only on the field, but off the field. And if you do that, I promise you, once you get to the league, man, you're prepared. Only thing that you got to switch out is terminology because we run an NFL style defense. We run NFL style offenses. And then it's being a voice of reason because what nobody's talking about is the mental health of these kids. Because when you're making more money than your parents, when your parents are pushing you to make more money because they're quitting their jobs to take care, that they want you to take care of them. I know what that's like. I was 21 when I entered the NFL. I was the third youngest player at the time. And so how do you handle all of a sudden now you have this bag dropped on top of you and you pray for it, but you don't know how to handle and steward it in a way that's going to be life-changing and life-altering that changes your generational, your family's wealth. And how do you build it? And it's like, to me, that's harder because we're in a generation of it's about the outward appearance. It's about, man, let me put my best in front of social media and everybody's like, oh man, but inside you're dying. And it's like, man, I've gotten to a point to where, man, the only things I care about is I want to glorify Jesus. I want to love my wife and I want to love my kids in a way that I never have. And I want to be the best there. And then along the way, if there's somebody that God puts in my path, I want to be the light into their darkness and shine so bright that it changes and alters their path and puts them in a place that they've never been in their family. And it's a ripple effect. The one person that you can impact, it allows you to impact multitudes of people. If I can teach this kid how to be better with his finances, then he can go back and teach his mom. He can go back and teach his dad. He can go back and teach the rest of his family. And so that's a long answer to, it's not just football, it's life. And it's like you teach life lessons through the game of being patient and it's going to come. I always told him, I said, this is an investment for what's to come, the payouts to come. Don't look to get the bag now. Can you be satisfied? Can you be content? And this is on a build towards something that instead of leaving and going and playing at, I don't want to throw no names out because I ain't trying to be disrespectful to no other teams, but instead of going to those other teams and hey, you may get drafted in the 5th, 6th round, stay here at Oklahoma and get drafted in the 2nd and 3rd round or in the 1st round. It's like Deion Burks is proof of that. It's like, somebody came and dropped a lot of money off on him. And he's loyal. And he believes in what we're doing. So he came back. He could have went and left the league, but he had unfinished business. And those are the players that you want. And I know Coach Venables and we had a conversation at the beginning of the year, throughout the year. And I said this, I said, Coach, I said, we got a lot of fat cats laying around. I said, we got to make these dudes hungry. And if people don't want to be here, leave. Like, we won't be held hostage. And so everybody's worrying about people leaving. No, get out. If you don't want to be a part of what we're building here, and hey, I'm all for performance and expectations. And it's like, I could give a crap what any fan has to say because it's like, what are you willing to do? Are you willing to sacrifice your time? Are you willing to put your money in to make this place great? I was. I'm not going to sit back and, and talk about it. I'm going to be about it. I'm a doer. So I jumped in and committed my life, my money, my time to trying to make this place the best it could be.
Hitting the highway? Remember to stop at Love's Travel Stops. You can't miss the heart of the highway. And with the Love's app, you can also save big. How big? 10 or 15 cents big. Save 10 cents per gallon on gas and 15 cents per gallon on auto diesel. Save with the Loves app today and be welcomed by clean places and friendly faces. Certain conditions may apply. See loves.com for details.
You listen to this podcast to get insight from the guys who played the game. Why don't you take that same approach when it comes to buying your beef? When you order from Didier Ranch, you are getting your beef directly from the people who raise it. A rancher knows what it takes to have premium quality beef. Didier Ranch has done it for over 100 years right here in Oklahoma. From delicious 21-day dry-aged ribeyes to savory steak burgers, there is no better place to get your beef. Get your beef from the guys who've done it and use code Oklahoma15 for 15% off on DidierRanch.com. Didier Ranch, tradition tastes better.
And we are brought to you by Simple Modern, the official drinkware partner of the OU Sooners. Let me ask you a question. Are you getting enough water every day? Probably not. Did you know that men need about 124 ounces of water per day to stay hydrated? Let Simple Modern help you meet your hydration goals for this new year and help all the Sooners in your life stay hydrated this year too. Plus, with Simple Modern's new personalizer, you can now create personalized drinkware for yourself or anyone else with just a few clicks. With 10% of all Simple Modern profits going to charity, many in Oklahoma, you're also helping Oklahomans everywhere. Simple Modern, it's good everywhere. It seems like being the general manager ended up being a lot. What was the most gratifying part of it for you? Clearly, there are a lot of things that were not fun that came with the job for you, but what would you say was the most enjoyable part of it?
Man, the most enjoyable part of it is, I think when you leave the NFL, one of the things that, besides getting that lovely paycheck that you miss is being a part of a team and being a team player, and everybody has their function, their role to play. And I had my role to play. And I just love being a part of the team and helping build a place that afforded me to be able to live the lifestyle that I live. And then too, it's being able to serve these coaches and players and I can't tell you all the 1 a.m. and 2 a.m.s and going after practice and staying late and talking to guys who are, you know, college football is not for the weak. And there's so many times that you question yourself if you're good enough, if you made the right decision, and then you add on top the social media of, people destroying these kids after not performing or not being perfect. And, it's like, how many of us don't mess up at our jobs on the daily? We all do. And so when someone misses a tackle, drops a ball, or like the image of Mark Andrews, who's one of the most short-handed players in the NFL, drops a 2-point conversion. And if you go look at the social media, those same people that were loving him is ripping him apart. And so trying to step into with these kids and just be a voice of reason, trying to mentor them and help develop them and get them on the right path. And it's like, I love being the GM. I really did because, man, I have a skill set that not too many people know about. And it let me use every single skill that God's blessed me with to function in a way that only that job can. And it's like it although I loved it, I love things more than that. And when you respect the game the way that I do, man, you can't, it's like if I can't be all in on something, I just can't do it. And it's not fair. And and so it's like every part of that job. Yes, there are some things that suck, but at the same time, that's every job. And and who knows, maybe down the road, you know, I'll get back in when my kids are older, and I got daughters, and when my daughters don't even want to look, when I look at them, they don't want to look, they don't even want me to look at them. Maybe I'll slide into a job to where in coaching where I can give it my all like it deserves to be given.
Well, you're going to be tied with this team because you had a massive hand in putting this current roster together. And, just from the outside looking in, there's a bunch of positives. The Mateer coming in at quarterback, a bunch of returning guys that, were some prized possessions out there. There's a lot of teams trying to jump in on our roster and grab guys. So when you look at the team that you guys have built moving forward to this 2025 season, how do you feel about it? What are some of the real strong points of this group moving forward, and what type of position you think they're in going into the season?
Man, I'm excited. And it's like we're in a performance business, and this ain't no excuses. This isn't rationalization of what's happened, but and I'm some people may accuse me of having my Sooner goggles on, but when I go through the season, I went back and watched those games. There's only one game I felt like that we truly should have lost. Um, and you realize that football is a game of inches. It is, you know, execution and executing in the highest way. But when you look at what's to come, I think you got guys that are. I just start on the defense. Getting R. Mason back, he is elite. He would have been a second round pick this year, and his goal should be being a top 15 pick next year. You got Grayson Halton inside. You got Dominique Williams. You got Jaden Jackson. You added in some pieces. And then at the same time, you haven't even seen Danny Okoye. You haven't seen Adepoju. And I'm starting with on the defensive line just because you win in the trenches. And to me, that's one of the best, if healthy and developing at the rate that they should, is the best in college football. And then you flip over on the other side to the offensive line. You got Logan Howland, who was ripped apart. He got baptized by fire. And it's okay because now he's developed. You got Heath Ozada. You brought back Troy Everett. And sorry, my hounds are, you know. And so you bring back the two things I think from an offensive line and defensive line standpoint that are going to be pivotal in us taking that next jump. And then, you jump over to the quarterback. Mateer is a dude. But you can talk about Mateer, but two is you got a young Mike Hawkins. And I'm gonna go on record and saying this, he will win a Heisman. He's that dang good. I know what it looks like. And now, and I know he has the it factor. You got Mateer. So you got two guys in this system playing in the SEC, you need to. And I like both of those. And you add in the weapons they have at wide receiver, and everybody's like, oh, we didn't get any of the big names. Names? It's like, yeah, are those big names, are they hungry? Are they truly motivated to go out and win? Oh, no, I would hope so. But I do believe that the players that we brought in have something to prove. I want somebody that has a chip on their shoulder. It's like you look at Baker Mayfield. He's not the 6'4". He's not the prototypical style quarterback. But what he does is win, and he finds a way. And it's like those are the type of hunger and chips of players that you want to bring in. And on the defense, you look at that secondary. You look at the linebackers: Kip and Kobe, Robert Spears, Jennings, Peyton Bowen, Eli, Gentry. I mean, the list goes on. You got probably 9 of the 11 are homegrown players that are developed. And it's like, it was about keeping that group together. And it's like, part of being a GM, you're asking them to turn down 3 times the amount of money that somebody's offering these guys and to stay. And we were able to do that for a lot of them. And so, man, I'm excited about this team. I'm excited about, one is we got to stay healthy. Two, I think we have all the parts. And what the OC's done in the past is, if you look at having a top 10 defense, which we had this past year, and if offense is just 30th, we're sitting in college football playoffs. And, and it's like the year before, we make a couple of field goals, we may be sitting in the college football playoffs again. But that's what it should have is. It's like the reality of it is you got to win. And nobody shies away from that. When you come to Oklahoma, you don't come to Oklahoma to go whatever the record, 6-7 or whatever it is. You come to Oklahoma to win. We're winners. And that's a standard that's never going to change. And every person that works in that building understands that standard, and we haven't been living up to it. And so we're going to get back to that. And I know people are like, I'm tired of hearing that. I am too. And so, man, I'm excited. And I think this is the year that we're going to do what Oklahoma should do.
You've been around a lot of coaches throughout your football career. What was like your early impressions of Ben Arbuckle at offensive coordinator? How have the players responded to him getting the job and coming in these first couple months?
Arbuckle is what's crazy is, right, is, in theology, we say that everything is connected. And so Austin English, who's from Canadian, Texas, Austin English's dad, Dean, used to be the strength coach at Canadian. And so Arbuckle's from Canadian, Texas. And so I went home with Austin and we went up and I actually probably watched Arbuckle work out, Austin's dad work him out. And so, my impressions of Arbuckle is he's a dog. I think I call him my light-skinned brother. And, he has a little seasoning to him. And so, and he's confident. And I know he knows his stuff and he knows how to scheme up defenses. And I think he's a coordinator. What makes coordinators great? It's not I'll say this and people may get mad. Great coaches don't make great players. Great players make great coaches. And so part of that is, and why I say that is, a coach has to understand the personnel it has and play to the best of them. Not here's my scheme, here's what I do. It's like, what do you do well? And let's go do that. And let's go kick people's teeth in. And that's who I think he is. And I think he's a developer of talent. And he's going to squeeze every ounce out of all the players that we have on that. And I think if you look at where he's been at other places, it doesn't compare to the talent level that he has here. So I'm ready for him to get rolling. And I've already spent some time and seen some of the things that he's been doing, and I'm excited about what he's going to add to this team.
Now, the landscape of college football is crazy right now. It's all over the place, and you've got a unique perspective of it because you've been in there. You've seen the consequences of the Wild West. I'm sure every team in the country is in everyone's DMs before they should be, and it's wild right now. If you were over the top of it, if you were running college football, what's the number one thing in your mind that needs to happen to kind of shore up the landscape, shore up the uncertainty, the nature of what's going on right now? If you could change one thing, what would it be?
Man, it can't just change one thing, to be honest with you. I think if you look at it this is I call it a amateur sport, professional sport. This is a feeder league now. And so with that is, if I was to take it over, because what you continue to see is they continue to change things at, okay, this comes out, and then they change it to this and this and this and this. And it's like, no, when all this lawsuit and all this stuff should have been done, let's get all that done. And then we have the best models already that's out. We got the NBA, we got the NFL, and we got Major League Baseball. And so what have those organizations done to make sure that it's parity across and that it's sustainable? Because what NIL and college football, it's not sustainable if it keeps going at the rate it is, and it's going to lose a lot of viewership because people are tired of watching a product that, you can't, you love players. And when this player is, hey, in 4 months, all of a sudden I'm out of here. It's like, we got to fix that. And so I think the things that I would fix was let's go ahead and do a collective bargaining agreement. Let's do a players association. Let's change how we do the transfer portal. We have, I think everybody gets, one free transfer. And after that, you have to sit out. And I don't see why there's anything wrong with that, because that keeps you from making,
Got to be some consequences.
yes, irrational decisions. All of a sudden, oh man, I had a very bad day. You know how many very bad days I had at OU where I wanted to leave? When Curtis, what are you doing? Ship you on a bus back to Kingfisher, and it's like, that's a part of it. And so I would put those things in place, and to make kids actually have to take a pause instead of just, you know what, I'm going to jump in this. And then two is, I think that you need to get some professional representative there. You got to have some kind of credential to be a NIL agent. And some of those people need to be held accountable too, because what you see is, and I've seen it too many times. Hey, I know Oklahoma has you at 50, but this school over here is at 200,000 for you. And so these kids whose brains haven't even fully developed, they're going to go jump and get that. And when they get into the portal, it's not out there. So what are the consequences for that person that lied to these kids and the kids that suffer? Because these agents, now not all agents are bad, but there are a lot of them out there that are preying on these kids, and they don't have any consequences for their actions in lying. And to me, that's the thing that gets me going.
You played at OU. You've been inside the building every day for the last several years. I think a lot of OU fans just want to know, like, where is OU football at right now? Like, is it in a good place? How close is this thing to getting back to the level that we all want it to be at? In your opinion, like, where does our program stand right now, Curtis?
Well, right now it stands on this off season. This is the turning point. And the players in that locker room right now will be the ones that we look back and say, and it's a lot of pressure for them, that we say, man, this was it. Or, dang, man, we got to build this. We got to go back to the drawing table. And you're close, but I don't want to be close. I'm ready to kick the doors in. And it's like, I don't ever want to play, but right now, like for me, when I'm watching, I'm like, man, suit me up. Like, I want this. I want all the smoke from the SEC because I feel disrespected. And I hear all these talking heads, and it's like, man, it just gets me rolling, it gets my blood boiling. And it's like one of the reasons that, I didn't want to leave, but man, we're close. And I think once we get the next GM and we decide what, we're gonna do at DC, and um, man, I think the pieces are there. And now it's on the players. Because I don't care who you could bring in the greatest coach, whoever you want to. You can bring Nick Saban in here. Coaches coach, but players play. And so I can't tell you how many times that we've had the perfect play call and it wasn't executed. So is that a coach? No. So winning football games boils down to this: is players have to play, but at the same time, whatever as a coach you emphasize, you're going to get. And so, for me, it's we got to take care of the ball. We're in where the margins are very slim. We can't give them more possessions. And then we have to get touchdowns. Because if we can score, it puts pressure on the defense. Teams didn't have to worry about us last year. They could play conservative because we didn't have the best offense. And so now we have the pieces, and it's like, all right, we got the pieces. Now it's time to go do. No more talking. It's time to do.
Last one I got for you. If you pick one player that people need to watch for that you think has the chance to have a real special season, maybe it's a portal guy that added to the mix. Maybe it's a young guy that we haven't seen.
Danny Okoye.
I like that. He's
Um,
got it now. He is he's got the motor.
he is, everything that you look for is big, physical, explosive, loves it. There's a switch that player that people are able to click, and it's like somebody told me, "Hey, man, you're really nice." I'm like, "Man, I'm not." I'm
You haven't seen me put the hat on.
yeah. When you get that hat on, like I said this to somebody, and I said, "Man, if I hit somebody and I killed them, I don't endorse taking anyone's life because life is such a vital thing. Um, I wouldn't feel bad. And and so that was my mindset. And so when you look at Danny Okoye, for me, man, he got 255, 6'3". He's just, man, if it clicks, which it started clicking, you start seeing little glimpses of, boy, I want you to release that on somebody else. Because in practice, you kind of always hold back just a little bit because that's your brother. And it's like, you know, I don't, don't help nobody up. I want you to start step on his hand. It's like I remember we playing Chase Daniels. I tried to step on his hand after I sacked him. And I want to kind of get back to being those types of players at Oklahoma. But Danny Okoye, man, I think he's going to have a really, really big year.
Last one for you, CeeLo. Stutzman and Bowman move on. I think it's safe to say those were the leaders of the football team. On the offensive side, it kind of felt like no one was performing to the level to be that guy. Overall, moving into this season, how do you feel about the player leadership of this group?
I think
Is
now
Mateer just like that natural fit? Is he just like wired that type of guy? Is he that
when some
guy?
guys walk into a room, you're like, okay, like people gravitate towards that type of player. Mateer is one of those dudes, and then you add in a motivated Deion Burks. He heard what everybody said. He kept all the receipts. And then you add in Troy Everett, who went through one of the most gruesome injuries and fought his tail off. And it's like he comes back. We start running the ball, we start getting better. So you got to have somebody at every single level. And then you add in Gavin Sawchuk, Javante Barnes. And then you add in Xavier. That running back room, I think it's one of the top in the SEC. They got to stay healthy. And so now there's leaders, and really you got the best teams don't just have one or two guys. You got layers of leaders that everybody, when he says something, somebody, hey, listen up. You got Jaden Gibson, who's been a knucklehead his whole time, he's coming back, that he's finally understanding what it means to be a true Sooner and put yourself down and build someone else up. And so on the defense, you add in, which, Billy Bowman and Danny, man, they led us like nobody's business. But then now you got in Kip, you got Kobe, Robert Spears, Peyton Bowen, you got R. Mason. You got guys that are dogs that have played at a high level. And what I love about this group is, and it's like, I remember when I first got to the Saints, we lost our first 5 games. And I'm like, man, like, what'd I get myself into? And then we fought back, but we had historically at the time one of the worst defenses in the history of the NFL. That next year we bring in Rob Ryan. We added a few pieces here and there that nobody really thought. And we went to the third best defense. And so I'm hoping it's like there's a sense of pride that you have and that you take in being able to wear that Sooners across your chest. And so I know that's how those guys feel in that locker room, because I've been to spend a lot of time. And so, man, I'm excited, about this leadership and where this direction of this team's going to end up getting to.
You're the man. Happy for you, man. Go spend some more time with your kids.
Hey, man, and it's like I'm not just riding off into the sunset. Shoot, it's like I'm gonna go get a haircut and I'm gonna go hang out with the guys. I just want to not, when I think of sitting in a staff meeting, I'm like, I don't want no parts, ready to go, let me go do what I'm good at. I'm a relational person, but who knows, man? I don't know what God has in tow for me. It takes a level of obedience and surrender to step away from something and people that I love. And I'm excited what's next. And who knows? I could be in the NFL. Ministry doesn't mean that it's in a church. The gospel's always traveled outside of the 4 walls. And so I would just challenge anybody and everybody is, are you working inside your purpose? Are you doing what God's called you to do? And, and are you loving and spending time with the people that you should be? And it's, this past year, my brother was killed. And, I came to work the next day. I took a week off and I came back and went to work. And, it made me question, what is it like to be alive and what does it mean to truly live? And so living takes intentionality, and it's, when I boil it down to, it's loving God, loving your family, and loving others. And when you see somebody that's struggling, giving them a helping hand. And there's a lot of people that need helping hands right now. And so, try to help people. So that's what I'm going to do.
It's a perfect way to end it, man. Thank you for the time.
All right, guys.
Schwab Meat has been smoking the highest quality meats, hot dogs, and sausages in OKC since 1912. Go to schwabmeat.com to order any of Schwab's outstanding products and use promo code OKBreakdown for free shipping on orders over $75. Schwab dogs are iconic. I like to keep it simple. Just a bun, dog, mustard, ketchup. Also, the jalapeno cheddar smoked sausage is ridiculous. schwabmeat.com, code OKBreakdown for free shipping on orders over $75. Schwab Meat, the official hot dog of game days.
Oklahoma's favorite pub, Pub W, is a modern American pub offering a great new take on classic drinks and cuisine. They offer an extensive beer and specialty drink selection with something for everyone, and that's exactly why Pub W was voted best happy hour. And we all love a delicious brunch. Pub W brunch is served Saturdays and Sundays until 2 p.m. with some of the most delicious brunch offerings you'll find anywhere. Now open in Yukon, Oklahoma. Visit one of their 6 Oklahoma locations. Visit pubdub.com for locations and menus.
Insurica's launched a new digital agency introducing Insurica Direct. Whether you're in Oklahoma or anywhere across the U.S., they've got you covered. From small business insurance and health insurance for your employees to insurance for individuals like home, auto, and even Medicare supplements. Insurica Direct's got it all. Start your journey today at insuricadirect.com. Remember, at Insurica, we specialize in you.
All right, Ted, let's recap Ohio State's win over Notre Dame in the national championship game. The Buckeyes win 34-23. What'd you think? Hey, solid title game. Little drama there at the end, but ultimately, best team wins it all. I'm good with that.
Yeah, it got off to an interesting start. Notre Dame, what was it, like 18 play drive, something like that. They go right down the field methodically against that Ohio State defense, and you think, okay, we got something here perhaps with Notre Dame, but that defense settled in, made life really difficult for Notre Dame moving forward. And, you know, just it was kind of the talking point going in, just the star power from Ohio State. If their stars showed up, it was probably going to be too much for Notre Dame, and I feel like that's kind of what happened.
Notre Dame will always have that first drive. I
Yes.
mean, that was incredible, right? A couple fourth down conversions, ton of Riley Leonard on the ground, but 18 plays, 9 minutes and 45 seconds off the clock.
I It looked like for about the last 7 or 8 plays, like I didn't know if Riley Leonard was going to be able to get up and make it back to the huddle, but somehow he did, and they didn't care. They were just going to keep snapping it and keep giving it to him on that quarterback power, weren't they?
It did not feel sustainable. Even though they scored a touchdown, it kind of looked like he was going to pass out at several moments on the drive. And I just went, I don't think they can keep doing that. But Ohio State answered in a big way, put together an 11 play touchdown drive. I thought it was diabolical from Chip Kelly to dial up that play that Alabama scored on Ohio State with a couple years ago as there to get Jeremiah Smith that touchdown. I knew it instantly. I thought I'd be the only one that remembered. I wasn't the only one that remembered, Ted. There were a lot of people that remembered.
Yeah,
I was still proud of my recall, okay?
yeah, Chip Kelly. I mean, it's almost been one of the forgotten developments over the offseason, right? That Chip Kelly, end up taking over that offense for Ohio State. And that's really where he shines, and not that he wasn't a good head coach, he was, but really good job play calling, great design on a bunch of things that they did. And it helps to have the players that he had.
There's no doubt about it. Here's Ohio State's first 4 drives of the game on offense. 11 plays, 75 yards, touchdown.
Hmm.
10 plays, 76 yards, touchdown. 12 plays, 80 yards, touchdown. There's halftime. Then they come out, 5 plays, 75 yards, touchdown. That'll do.
It was impressive. And they did a lot of good stuff. I had a panic attack whenever I saw Ohio State getting in a huddle, you know, calling it in the huddle, walking to the line, getting under center, some hard play action stuff, handing the ball on some traditional plays. It was a really good, really well executed, well designed game plan.
Will Howard, good quarterback. Not a tight
Man,
end, Ted. Good quarterback.
he really played well in the big moments of the season for them. I mean, you subtract the Michigan game, which was really an anomaly for them throughout the year, and You remember, you go back to the first Oregon matchup, and the way that game ended wasn't, a strong point for him. But in the playoffs, when it mattered and all the eyeballs were on him, he put together a bunch of really, really good performances. Man, that dude helped out his draft stock a bunch.
No doubt. I don't think there's any player that helped their draft stock more than him in the last couple months of the season. And just looking at the title game, I thought Notre Dame struggled to make him uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Seemed like he was, the vast majority of the time was clean in the pocket, feet were set, was able to go through his reads, wasn't disturbed in the pocket. And even when they did get to him a little, he made some really nice throws on third downs. I mean, there was one throw on 3rd and 7 before the half where it extends that drive. They go and score a touchdown before the half where he stands right in there and delivers a beautiful ball. I also thought whether it was short yardage or, first, second down stuff, I thought when he needed to use his legs, he made really good plays. That was about as good of a performance as you're going to get from Will Howard. Threw it really well, made good decisions with the ball, used his legs when he needed to. I thought it was a really nice, complete performance from Howard.
Yeah. Even, made some really nice plays whenever he did have to get outside the pocket, and extend a threat to run once he got outside, but still had his eyes downfield, made some plays in the scramble drill. I mean, and I think that's a really big development for him. We knew he could, get you the tough yardage on the ground whenever he needed to. Big physical dude, has a nice arm from the pocket, but the ability to get outside and still make plays down the field, be clean with the football in those tough moments. And, that's whenever it's hard with the skill players they have. It's hard enough to defend them, you know, in the regular breakdown of plays, in the route concepts. But then whenever he gets outside and scrambles and you got to cover some of those guys, it makes it even more difficult. And he did a really good job finding some spots to keep drives rolling.
It looked like it was going to be an absolute splattering. Trademark Josh Pate. But credit to Notre Dame for staying in the fight and really making that thing interesting late. I mean, when Ohio State took that out to, what was it, 31-7 after the fake punt incompletion from Notre Dame, which Marcus Freeman's getting a lot of flack for that. It's right. The play is there to be made. You just got to make it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it worked exactly the way that they designed it. Guy just didn't catch it. Throws maybe a little low. Guy just didn't catch it. Hey, it happens. But that Notre Dame team, they kept playing, they kept fighting, and it got very, very interesting. I mean, Ohio State's got 3rd and 11, and if they don't convert it there, they're punting the ball back to Notre Dame, with Notre Dame having a chance to go tie the football game and possibly send it into overtime. So I thought that with where that game got to where it ended, like if I was a Notre Dame fan, I'd be pretty damn proud of that team.
Yeah. Yeah. They did some good things. And, I agree. They had him at what, 3rd and 11 with a really good chance to get off the field. And, this is a couple times saw Arizona State do something similar against Texas whenever they absolutely had to get a stop. And I just, it's against how I would call things, keep it in front, tackle. They have a lead. The direction going to Will Howard is probably don't force it, make the smart play. If we don't get it, we don't get it. Our defense is playing great. Force them to dump the ball underneath, rally up, tackle, and try and get off the field. But they roll the dice, and, you got to know at corner, the ball is going to come out quick. They're either going to try and run you on a slant or something to beat you in one-on-one coverage, or they're going to throw the ball up to see if you can make a play, and you get run by. It's tough. I mean, it's not indicative of how good they played on defense at times and how they were playing, at that moment they were starting to get some things really going, and can't leave that guy uncovered in that moment.
If you go back and watch it, they bring 7 kind of. That's I my issue with the call there isn't bringing 7. It's if you're going to bring them, bring them. Now Ohio State's in 7-man protection. They've got a back and a tight end. So if Notre Dame's bringing 7, they should be good. They've got 7 in protection. But you see a couple of, like, the timing just isn't there. If you're going to bring it, man, come on. That fraction of a second in that moment matters. And if you go back and watch it, like, Ibuka ends up being double teamed in the middle of the field. Now, the guy that initially is covering him falls on his face. But there's a second guy there in the middle of the field, kind of just playing that low hole that covers him. I probably would have taken my chances with all of the other guys except for Jeremiah Smith and double covered that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah.
hey, it is what it is. Ultimately, that corner from Notre Dame is like 8 yards off him and he still runs by him.
Yeah. Yeah. It was tough. And it's those things are happening fast, man. 3rd and 11 comes up, play clock's rolling. What are we going to do? You make a decision. You roll with it. If you had more time to sit back and really dial in exactly what you want to do, maybe you get to a better spot. But that's a game of football. We're rolling fast. All in all, entertaining game. I think the best team won it. And Ohio State, hell of a year to bounce back from that loss against Michigan that felt demoralizing. It fueled them in the playoff, and they started playing like they expected to. It felt a little bit like the season was grueling and a bunch of teams faded. The longer it went, Ohio State was the team that got stronger.
And now people can leave Ryan Day alone, right? Except for that lady on the golf cart trying to ruin his night. My goodness, come on.
That was funny.
She hit that wall hard. That wasn't like, I tapped it. That was, hey, we may need your insurance information because this thing's got a ding in the front.
Yeah, it's almost like the wall appeared out of nowhere, but I think it was there all along.
Just I didn't understand the turn radius of that thing, I suppose.
Yeah, those long golf carts don't turn great.
Any other thoughts from the win? My only thing is I think that this Ohio State team, when you look at the roster, it was kind of the perfect blend of where you want to be as a program. A bunch of really, really talented recruits that have been there for 3, 4, 5 years that have developed and improved, and you've been able to retain them. You've done what you need to do in college football now to retain those guys. And then you add a couple of key guys via the portal. I don't know if we're going to see a roster quite this talented, like this stacked again with how college football, with how the rules are going to change. Because you go up and down this Ohio State roster, going to be an unbelievable amount of NFL draft picks and a bunch of early rounders. So is this the last, for lack of a better term, super team in college football? I don't know. But Ohio State, they had the perfect blend this season. It wasn't perfect, right? This was still a 2-loss team, but ultimately, I thought they were the most talented team in the country. They were the best team in the country. And when the games mattered, when it was on the line, when the lights were the brightest in the playoff, they played their best football. And that's usually what you want in a national champion. So a very deserving national champ in my mind.
100%. You're right. They got the formula right. This is interesting. There were 61 players on the field, both rosters included, from the state of Ohio. That's a lot, and I know geographically those teams are fairly close, but you mentioned it. The majority of Ohio State's team was guys that have been in that program, that have developed, that have come along. that it means a lot to them. Defensively, ton of upperclassmen. It was a perfectly put together roster, and they executed when they had to. The bounce back's going to be tough for them. They still have good talent. There's no doubt, but there's going to be a lot of new faces on the field for them next year.
I'm not worried about Ohio State.
They'll be fine.
They'll be fine. They're going to have plenty of talented players. All right, let's finish up with our winners and losers of the week. But first, three things matter in banking: service, service, and service. And First Fidelity Bank's commitment to exceptional service is more than a promise, it's their foundation. FFB has been by your side for over a century, and they are honored to be a part of your journey. Banking isn't about where you've been, it's about where you are headed. Open an account at an award-winning bank today at ffb.com. At First Fidelity Bank, we go where you go.
Bishop McGuinness Catholic High School represents a tradition of educational excellence in Oklahoma City. Grounded in a faith-based education, Bishop McGuinness offers a college prep curriculum that includes 26 AP courses, participation in OSSAA athletics, and numerous clubs and organizations for students to join and grow. If you want to provide the best possible educational and spiritual development for your children, contact Bishop McGuinness Catholic High School or visit bmchs.org. Financial aid is available.
And go to opolisclothing.com and use promo code TED for 10% off our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's opolisclothing.com and use promo code TED. Buttery soft and 10% off. As always, Ted, kick us off. Who do you have as your winner of the week?
Well, I thought about going with the Edmonton Oilers fans for throwing the nachos on the court to distract the goalie, Logan Thomas, who gave up the game winner. Did you see that?
First of all, I saw it. Second of all, absolutely love that you referred to it as a hockey court. That is so perfect.
Is that what I said?
You are such a meathead. I love that. They threw them nachos on the hockey court.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't even think about that. That's embarrassing, but that was still funny. But I ended up going with OU football because I was just, peeking around at some of the mock drafts, and by my count, possibly up to 11 first-round draft picks off of teams that they played this year. And I know these teams that we play are there's a lot of talent and they rebuild quickly, but that's a significant amount of talent that we're not going to be facing next year. It's hard to replace first round talent on a college football team, up to 11 guys. Every single SEC team we played has a mock rounder in the a mock draft first rounder, except for Auburn at the moment. Pretty crazy.
Really?
Yes. And then you sprinkle in Michigan, who we play in the second game next season. They lost 4 first round or 4 mock guys that have the potential to go in the first round. That's a lot of talent out the door.
Michigan, like 3 of those guys are going to go in the top, let's say 12.
Yes. Yeah.
So your OU football is your winner of the week because all of the teams are losing really, really good guys.
Yeah, sure.
Well,
sure. You gotta grab onto anything.
It's an interesting point because when you think about OU's best players in 2024, Stutzman and Bowman, both gone. But other than that, everyone is back.
Yeah. I've talked about it a lot. The majority of teams that we played, 8, 9 seniors on defense, some even more. Ole Miss, ton of seniors. South Carolina, ton of seniors. Tennessee, ton of seniors. All these Auburn, ton of seniors. That it's one thing to have elite talent sprinkled in, but it's another thing to have a bunch of 23-year-olds playing against, we had a bunch of freshmen out there and stuff. So, we'll get better by that alone, I believe. Now we're still going to face, some of the best talent in college football. There's no doubt about it. But I mean, it is interesting whenever you start to look at the players that we face this year.
You are an absolute sicko. The NFL playoffs are still going on, and you're over there looking at mock drafts.
Well, I figured I'd snoop around a little bit, see what they're looking like, and as I was scrolling through the first round, I was like, I remember that guy. I remember that guy. I remember that guy. And I started to think there's a trend going on here that's showing up. We played against a lot of first rounders.
Maybe that's why the season went the way that it did.
Yeah. Part of it.
We need some of those guys.
Yes.
We
Yes, we
need
do.
we need some of these guys to develop into those types of guys. There's no doubt about it. Rapid fire. Ravens Chiefs. Oh, it's not Ravens Chiefs. Bills Chiefs. Who you like? It's got to be the Chiefs, right? Chiefs at home. I'm not going against Mahomes. No chance. Even though I will be cheering for the Buffalo Bills because they employed me and the Kansas City Chiefs did not.
I think everyone except for, Chiefs fans are going to be pulling for the Bills, but I've made this mistake a bunch in the past and in feeling like, Kansas City can't do it again. Yeah, yeah, they can. Great defense. Offense comes alive whenever they need it. Say what you want about Mahomes. He's incredible whenever the moments are big. I, I'm like you, probably going with the Chiefs, but will be pulling very hard for the Buffalo Bills.
Commanders Eagles. I'm surprised this spread is as big as it is. Philly's a 6 point favorite, 6.5 point favorite, some other places.
I'm worried that,
Hurts looks hurt. I mean, he is hurt. It's obvious he's hurt.
yeah,
Can that O line just maul that Commanders defense and Saquon just goes off? Yeah, very possible. But I don't know, man. I'm uncomfortable betting against Jaden Daniels right now with how that guy is playing.
I know it. I totally agree. Be interesting. Saquon Barkley is on one right now, and I'm going to go with Philly, just because how good they are running the football. But I'm not counting Jaden Daniels out. That dude is playing some excellent football at the moment. Skill guys, like, whenever a team gets hot and they feel like they've got a chance to do something special, that group tightens up and everyone starts to execute really good. I mean, I think it's going to be a great game. Edge Philly.
Yeah, give me Philly as well. But I don't feel good about it.
I know.
Don't feel good
I
about it.
know.
All right, who do you have as your loser of the week?
Oh, I thought about going Mark Andrews.
Oh,
Just brutal. Everyone knows drops the 2 point conversion. They crawled back into that football game, and he's catching the heat. He had the fumble there in the fourth quarter too, and then let's be real. It's a play he should have made. It's not an easy play, but it's a play he should have made, and it's just a brutal end of the season for the guy that passed Todd Heap for the most receiving touchdowns this year, and then passed Jamal Lewis for the most touchdowns ever as a Raven in this season. Just incredible. And then it ends the way it does. I hated that for him.
brutal. Has been an incredible player. The only good thing to come of it, have you seen what Bills fans have done?
No.
They have donated as of about an hour ago, they have donated over $50,000 to Breakthrough T1D, which is a type 1 diabetes research organization that Mark Andrews supports.
Good for them. And here everyone thought Philadelphia fans were all scumbags.
No, this is Bills fans.
Oh, sorry.
We're
I mixed-
getting
I
the
mixed it
NFL
up again.
playoffs all mixed up. We're frazzled.
Bills fans were all scumbags. No, great on them. I mean, that's a good deal, but I really would have liked to see Mark Andrews pull that 2 point conversion in. That was
Well,
a fun game at the end.
I really wanted him to see it because there was still over a minute and a half left, and I wanted to see
Yeah.
Josh Allen go do the thing,
He's been great. He's
It
been great. That was fun.
really good game. But yeah, rough stretch for Mark Andrews, even though Mark's gonna be just fine. He's gonna be just
Yep,
fine. Incredible
he'll be
player,
fun.
awesome guy. But yeah, that was that could not have been a fun couple days. Still
That's,
probably not feeling.
but for loser, I ended up settling on Calipari at Arkansas, winless in conference play, 0-5 right now. Um, they're going through it, and he's losing one of the best freshmen in the country. Most likely going to miss the rest of the season with a hand injury. Boogie Fland, been a really solid player for him, and Arkansas fans not happy. It felt like the move of the century to get Calipari from Kentucky into Arkansas, but it has not been good so far this season.
Did you see the Jeff Goodman article about John Calipari and none of the SEC coaches fearing him anymore?
It's interesting, and I think he was great at recruiting, great at getting top talent into Kentucky, and I think there's room to argue that, well, how great of a actual basketball X's and O's coach has he been, other than just relying on great talent? And where he is at Arkansas, it's probably a little bit more about what can you do X's and O's, and it's been difficult. I don't know. We'll see. It's not off to a good start for him there, and it's going to get tougher before it gets easier. Hopefully, the Sooners can get back-to-back conference wins.
One SEC head coach told Goodman, "There's just no fear now when I see him on the other sideline. The game changed and he is becoming archaic."
Brutal takedown of Calipari.
Archaic. Someone calls you archaic. That's a fighting word.
It is, but it's kind of hard to argue with right now. I mean, it's not easy to come in year one and try and put something together, especially in the landscape of the SEC right now. It's not like, I mean, they're 0-5, but it's not like they're losing games to nobodies. The SEC's brutal this year.
No doubt about it. Come on, Sooners. Let's get this thing going. We got to win. Saw one go in. Now it's time to roll, boys. Here we go.
That's right.
All right, let's get to my winner and loser. But first,
Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It lets you see all your subscriptions in one place and know exactly where your money is going. For ones you don't want anymore, Rocket Money can help you cancel them. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and saved a total of 500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. You get alerts if bills increase in price, there's unusual spending activity, or if you're close to going over budget. Rocket Money will even try to negotiate to lower your bills for you. Automatically scan your bills to find opportunities to save. Then you can ask them to negotiate for you. They'll deal with customer service so you don't have to. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/game on today. That's rocketmoney.com/game on. rocketmoney.com/game on.
and we are brought to you by Mando. It's 2025. New year, new me. You know the drill. One thing I'm not changing, though, is my deodorant. I love Mando's whole body deodorant. It's safe to use anywhere on your body and is aluminum free and dye free. The Cloverwood scent, really good. Also, a big fan of the bourbon leather, but Pro Sport has become my go to scent. But I like to have options, which is why I love the 3-pack you can order that has one of each scent in it. That way I can switch it up when I want, keep my wife on her toes, keep my kids on their toes. Hey, what's dad going to smell like today?
Who's
And
this
luckily,
guy?
who is this guy? And luckily, I have a discount code to help you get hooked on the best smelling whole body deodorant on the market. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code OK Breakdown. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code OK Breakdown at shopmando.com shopmando.com. shopmando.com. Code OK Breakdown. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresh, stay dry, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. My winner of the week, Caleb Williams. Bears hired Ben Johnson as their head coach. That is a guy that has turned down head coaching opportunities the last couple of coaching cycles, but ultimately decided this was the move he wanted to make. And my guess is he had his choice of a couple different places, and he chose Chicago. And I assume it has a lot to do with the fact that he's got Caleb Williams as his quarterback. And when you look at Ben Johnson, he's only 38 years old. Got to bring a lot of energy to that franchise, a lot of energy to that quarterback room. He is very well known for his creativity and just dialing it up offensively, Ted. I have to assume that Caleb Williams is absolutely ecstatic about this hire.
Should be. You know, at times this last season, really rough for Caleb Williams, as you would expect for a rookie, but he also showed some really nice flashes of what people thought that he could be. And, you know, get him in a system, like you said, that's got a lot of innovation, really creative, you know, because Caleb Williams has some really nice tools where you can do things like that. I mean, it's I'd say it's a very positive development for the Bears. Lions fans are probably pissed, you know, with the season they had. You go to a division rival, but all in all, I think you're right. Caleb Williams should be a big winner from this.
I'm interested in how Ben Johnson approaches the Caleb Williams situation, because what makes Caleb Williams special is his ability to improvise. But you also want to get him to play within the structure of your offense that has been proven to be very, very effective. I mean, you look at Jared Goff's stats the last 3 seasons. 2022, 4,438 yards, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. 2023, 4,575 yards, 30 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. And this season, 4,629 yards, 37 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. The system works. But how do you get Caleb Williams to fit in the system, but also let him be him? And I think that that's going to be a really interesting balance for Ben Johnson to find with Caleb Williams at the quarterback position. But I'm really excited to see what it looks like. This is absolutely the best thing that could happen for Caleb Williams' NFL career, is getting Ben Johnson as his head coach. I mean, there are no excuses after this point, man. You've got the guy that everyone wants. So it's not all on Caleb Williams. He has to have help around him. The O-line has to be better. That defense has to continue to be good. But what an awesome opportunity.
It is. You know, and I think that after year one, Caleb Williams, you know, and this is kind of been one of my worries about him going to the NFL is you cannot rely on, you know, the improvising in the NFL. You have to let the system and the scheme do the work for you. You've got to be able to play the game from the pocket. And as you get good at that, then you start to work on improvising a little bit. You have to be able to get it done from the pocket, though. I mean, you look at Jared Goff and those numbers that you pointed out, that's letting the system do the work. Jared Goff is a good quarterback, but he's not what you would classify as a great playmaker. He's not Lamar Jackson out there, you know, scrambling around, making unbelievable throws. He does the majority of his work from the pocket. Detroit had an incredible run game to build around. I mean, that's going to be really important for Chicago. That offensive line getting the run game going, and then it unlocks the rest of your offense.
I was blown away by this stat from ESPN. The Lions have averaged at least 26 points per game in each of Ben Johnson's 3 seasons as offensive coordinator. The Bears have had 4 such seasons in the entire Super Bowl era.
It's wild.
85, 06, 13, and 18.
Wow.
So this could be a much needed infusion of offense into that organization. And the reports that Dennis Allen is going to be the defense coordinator there, I think that would be a smart hire for Ben Johnson, right? Bringing a guy who's been a head coach multiple times and is a very well respected defensive coordinator. So that should be a good resource for him as well. It just, I think the NFL's more fun when the Bears are good.
Yep.
So I'm excited to see how this entire thing works out.
Yeah, and some of those mock drafts I was snooping around had the Bears going offensive tackle with that first round selection that they have. I don't know what they're going to do. Who knows? But you go back to Detroit. It didn't just happen. They built that team from the inside out, and I think that's the direction the Bears need to go. You're not going to get those numbers offensively unless you get your offensive line playing up to par.
Completely agree. Should be fun to watch. My loser of the week, Justin Thomas. I completely agree with what he said in the memo he sent out, but Ted, it's do other professional athletes love when one of their peers tells them what to do?
No, no,
It's like, hey
not
guys, this
typically.
is what we need to do. And he is right. Did you see the memo I'm talking about?
Yeah, I didn't see the memo, but I saw the dialogue going on surrounding it.
Yes. So Justin Thomas sent out a memo to the other players on the PGA Tour that basically said, hey, we need to do a better job of connecting with the fans. We need to show more of our personality. We need to get more young people interested in watching golf. And he basically said, hey, guys, we need to become better entertainers. It'll make the fans happy. It'll make the TV partners happy. I completely agree with all of this. And his suggestions were more pre-round interviews, more mid-round interviews, wearing a mic out on the course, communicating like any equipment changes or swing changes that they've been working on and are using and around. Like it all sounds great to me, but I have to imagine there were several guys that got that memo and like, you're not telling me what to do, Justin Thomas. Leave me alone.
There's no doubt. And, you know, golf is such a mental game that, some of your stars are out there and are able to play fairly loose, but everyone else is trying to make their mortgage and super dialed in and intense and really focused. I think some guys will be able to do that and, should do that, not because Justin Thomas told them to, but I mean, I do agree that golf has, you got your traditional viewers that are going to watch no matter what. But if you're going to bring new viewership in and new fans in this day and age, you have to offer more. A lot of people aren't just going to tune in for, you know, 5 hours of coverage, listening to the birds chirp in the background. They want something. Give me a reason to tune in. What's happening out on the course? Take me behind the scenes a little bit. So I do agree with him, but I a lot of those guys are probably stuck in their ways to some degree.
I think the thing that I'd be most interested in is the overall strategy of playing a hole. Why are you hitting a certain club off the tee? Why are you aiming at a certain point? Like, why are you trying to put the ball where you're trying to put it? What shot are you trying to set up? Like, that's the stuff that I think the overall plan for a hole, and clearly you would get the plan for each shot within that overall plan. Like that would be really cool for me. Is like their thought process, the discussion with their caddy of, hey, I want to put the ball here because this is the club, this is the swing I want to make into the green. Like I think that would be really cool for me as someone that's getting more into golf. Like, okay, how do these guys plan out an entire hole? Like I'm over here just trying to hit it straight, you know.
Yeah.
But like guys that are at their level, I'd be interested in hearing about more of the strategy of playing a golf hole.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there, and as detailed as those guys are, there's a lot of cool strategy that goes on, and I'm 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 totally on board. I There's a fine line between, you know, what's interesting and, where there's a little, not necessarily too much. I sometimes I don't care for the conversation that's ongoing with the guys that are up in the booth. I sometimes that doesn't feel organic, but conversations with the caddy, just what their thinking is, I think could be really cool.
Yeah, I think there's a time and a place for some of the walk and talk stuff. Sure. And we've seen that on some golf broadcasts here recently. But yeah, I'm more interested in the player to player dialogue and the player to caddy dialogue. And
Agree.
just I want to hear those guys who are the best of the world at what they do strategize.
Yep.
That's kind of what I hear. And if I don't understand what they're talking about, then that lets me know, like, hey, I need to go learn about what they're talking about. I think that would be a lot of fun. But I do think that the how popular golf has become on YouTube is a motivating factor for Justin Thomas sending something out like this. Like Bryson DeChambeau has gone from the most hated golfer to the most well liked golfer
Yep. And I'm
because
in
of the
that group.
YouTube. Yeah,
I could not stand the guy before, and I really didn't have a reason, but
it
there
was the
was
hat. It was the hat.
that was part of it. I was just, it was everything. But, you took like the outside thought of who he was, and you just kind of applied it to him until you got to see him do the YouTube stuff and see who he really is. And, he does exactly what you're talking about. He goes out, he plays these courses, tries to break 60 or brings on a guest and they, try and break 50, and he has all these fun little things, and he does exactly that. He talks about every shot, what he's trying to do with it, what he's not trying to do, like where he can't miss, some of those things, and you get to see that personality a little bit.
And he's become an entertainer. I watch a lot more live golf than I think a lot of other people do. And he has taken some of that, like that entertainment element, and brought it to that tour.
Yep.
Like celebrations, like just being. I think he's realized that if you just act like how a normal person acts when you hit a really good shot on a golf course,
Yep.
people then relate to that and they like you. If you hit it
Right.
within 3 feet, get really excited because it's awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think he has, he now understands the entertainment element of being a professional golfer.
Yeah. It's totally changed his image. And, I
Like,
haven't looked at his YouTube numbers, but I imagine the videos, a lot of them that he puts out probably rival some of the TV ratings for these, you know, mat tour stops that they have out there.
Justin Thomas, great memo. I'm sure some guys are going to tell you no thanks, but I think all the ideas are good. And I think golf broadcasts, like PGA Tour broadcasts, can get better. And it feels like it's heading that way to where they it becomes a more entertaining product if you're just sitting down and watching it.
Yeah. And it can, I think DeChambeau has showed that you can make it look like what it looks like whenever a group of guys, friends go out and play golf, right? It's that's what it looks like whenever he does the YouTube stuff. And if you can bring that to a round to some degree, let's not get crazy here with fireball shots whenever someone makes a birdie or something. But I think that they can have fun with it, and I people want more these days. There's a lot of competition for people's attention out there, and If they want to stay relevant, they're going to have to do something.
Yep. Should be interesting to see if anything comes to this. Good effort, Justin Thomas. Good job. Good leadership. Also, looks like JT's got his game on track. Runner up at the Amex last week. Atlanta Drive GC shutout NYGC. I watched some TGL on Tuesday night. Had nothing else to do. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome putts from JT there. Incredible celebration with the but we'll see if anything comes of this. Keep our eye on what PGA Tour broadcasts look like.
Yeah.
Birthday shout outs. Happy second birthday to Teddy Wayne Coulter.
Happy 32nd birthday to Jim Diaz.
Oh boy, here we go. Happy 35th birthday to Jenna Tolles.
Tolles, yeah. That's what I would go with.
Tolles.
Uh-huh.
Tolles.
Tolles. I'm with
Any
you.
other options? Jenna T. Happy birthday.
Yeah, Jenna T. Toll, is the ES silent?
Oh man, now you're in my head. Jenna T. Happy birthday. On that note, episode 495 in the books. We'll have a new episode that drops on Sunday. Just a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, head over to okbreakdown.com for all of our stuff in one spot. Hope you all have a great rest of your week. Until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.